All right. The title of the sermon this morning is God's Health Plan Part 2. Some of you missed Part 1. I did Part 1 a while ago. I was not sure. I was debating whether I should preach this sermon today. The reason? A week ago, somebody came to me from amongst us, told me I was not pleased at all at the sermon you gave on God's Health Plan Part 1. I say, what is that? Why for? Why not? What did I do wrong? And I wouldn't tell you the gender. I wouldn't say he or she. The person told me, this does not belong in the Sabbath morning, especially regarding the diet, you say. It wasn't me. I was talking about Weimer. You remember that? Health Institute, a Seventh-day Adventist Health Institute. How when I had my colon cancer bout and went over there and I got well again. And that didn't go well. So I'm sorry. The person told me, this does not belong here. If somebody comes here in Sabbath morning and they're not Advent, they're not going to go with that. And that's going to turn away somebody from the church. Well, but this person was very polite, very respectful, and I also politely and respectfully listened to what the person had to say and why. I said, should I really go on with part 2 now? Since apparently it offended somebody. One person. Maybe there is more, I don't know. But there is one that came to me and told me that they were not very happy because I was talking about not, animal diet. Plant-based diet is a better diet. That is what they taught us over there, and that's what I believe, okay? That should not really be offending some people, but apparently somebody was offended. Anyway, I prayed. Should I do this? Lord, do you want me to do it or not to do it? I think the Lord convinced me in no uncertain term I should go and do it, and I'm doing it. This is part 2, God's health plan. Okay. Exodus, the text, Exodus 23:25. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee, from the midst of us, if we trust him, if we continue to trust him. And the Lord will do that for us. Okay. The laws of health. Nutrition. If you read the first alphabet from the top to the bottom, can somebody tell me what that says? Read from the first alphabet, the first letter from top to bottom. What is it? New Start. That is right. That came from none other than from Ellen White, God's servant for the Church of the Last Days. N stands for nutrition. You are what you eat. If you put junk in your body, you will have trouble. You will have sickness. So be careful what you put in your mouth, what you eat. That's all I said the last time, and the person didn't like it. I'm sorry. And the next one is exercise. Do not just sit down on the couch, watch TV, do nothing, not exercising, walking, whatever it is. Moving is good. And this New Start came about 135 years ago. Well, Ellen White was teaching. The science didn't even know anything about this thing. But the Lord revealed to her, and by extension to us. The next one is water. Pure water is the best beverage anybody can drink. I don't think there is argument there. And we should drink at least 8 cups of water every single day, pure water. It will cleanse us. Our body is made up of 75 to 80% water. That means we need water. And the next one is sunlight. It looks like there is no sunlight today, but there is. Whatever is there, we'll get it. Sunlight is good. You know why? It makes us help vitamin D. And vitamin D enhances our immunity. It keeps us healthy. The next one is temperance. Be careful how much you eat. Don't just sit down and eat all day long. There are people who do that. It's not, and if you don't exercise, you don't spend energy, you just keep on energy, it's not good for you. The next one is air, pure air. Go out and breathe pure air. Open your windows when you're at home so that you can get pure air. And air is absolutely essential for a good health. Pure air, that is. Next one is rest. Don't work 24 hours a day. Some people say, there are some people who have 3 jobs to keep the ends met. Well, it may be okay. I think I'd rather go without eating rather than work 24 hours a day. Because your body needs time to be well. If you just work 3 hours a day, you have no rest, it's not good for your immune system, it's not good for your health. And finally, and the most important one is trust in divine power. Trust in God. And trust goes a long way to keep us healthy. Okay. The next one is perfect health. This comes from My Life Today from Ellen White. I hope you can read it, but I'll go read it. Man was crowning act of the creation of God, made in the image of God, and designed to be a counterpart of God. Designed to be a counterpart of God? You know how amazing that is? How wonderful that feels? We are actually designed to be part of God, counterpart of God. Man is very dear to God. Man came forth from the hand of God, perfect in every faculty of mind and body, in perfect soundness, therefore in perfect health. God endowed man with so great vital force that he has withstood the accumulation of disease brought upon the race in consequence of perverted habits, and has continued for 6,000 years. This was written about 130, 140 years ago by Ellen White. If you think the earth was prevented back then, 140 years later today, what does it look like to you? It's even worse, 10 times worse. Absolutely 10 times worse. So that's what she told us back then, and this is amazingly true. We are made in the image of God. Our body is made for a purpose, and we should take care of our body. We should take care of our health. Okay, next. Science and medicine have achieved a lot in the last 100 years, extending lifespan by about 27 years. About 100 years ago, most people lived about 57, 58, that's it. Today, a baby born today is expected to live to be about 87, 89. That is wonderful. 100 years ago, every 6th baby died before reaching the first year of life. greatly shortening the life expectancy of that society. Today, a 50-year-old has about the same average life expectancy as someone back then who survived the first critical year of life. Next. Atherosclerosis. That's a mouthful word for people who are not in the medical field. Atherosclerosis is hardening of the artery. Cholesterol accumulates in the wall of the artery, and as it accumulates in the wall of artery, it closes the space through which blood flows. When the heart needs oxygen, the heart needs food. When it does not get the food, the blood it needs, oxygen supply it needs from the blood, you know what you have? They call it heart attack, acute myocardial infarction. That's what comes. Atherosclerosis-related disease were virtually unknown back then. First description of coronary artery disease and myocardial infarction appeared in 1910. That was the first time it was described. Cancer of the breast, colon, prostate, lung were rare back then. Very few diabetics were known at the turn of the century. Today, the rates are increasing dramatically. Complications of diabetes are frequent cause of death. Diabetes is a condition that can be controlled by diet alone if you be careful. If you keep your diet strictly to what the spirit of prophecy tells us, diabetes can be controlled. But neglect controlling diabetes, you are in for trouble. So we got to be careful how we treat our body. What God wants us to be very careful what we do with our body. Next, degenerative disease, misnomer. There's actually when we say degenerative disease, arthritis, people get arthritis in their back, in their bone, in their knee. They can't walk, and so they have to have knee replacement everywhere. Degenerative arthritis is a lifestyle disease. Our health today is largely dependent on our lifestyle choices, our physiologic inheritance, our physical environment. These diseases are not necessarily the result of growing older. Some people say, I'm old, my knees are not working, I'm getting old. Well, that's an excuse. It is not. Getting old is not necessarily cause of disease, cause of it. It's a lifestyle issue. This disease is not necessarily a result of growing old, especially since more and more young people are getting them. Advances in high-tech medicine have not altered the advance of killer disease. We have today probably the most advanced healthcare system in the world, in the United States. But there are a lot more people suffering from this degenerative disease in the United States, more than some of the third world countries, because the third world countries has infectious disease problem. Malaria, a big killer in the rest of the world. We thank God we've got rid of that. We don't have malaria in America, unless you went to some malaria-infested countries and come back with the disease. That's the only way you can get it. It's not common. But degenerative disease, myocardial infarction, atherosclerosis, we eat too much animal stuff. And that is not good for us. Basically, that's what Ellen White said that many, many years ago when science did not really recognize. Today, science agrees with Mrs. White and what she wrote. And unfortunately, some Adventists have trouble with that. I don't understand why. Okay. Number 9. Next. Number 9. Okay. In 1900, about 10 to 15% of Americans died from heart disease and stroke. Today, that is 45%. In a period of about 100 years, we have increased the deaths from heart disease and stroke from 10 to 15% to 45%. That is the result of lifestyle. We're eating more processed food. Not good for you. Too much sugar in there, too much glucose in there. That is not good for you. And in 1900, 6% of deaths were caused by cancer. Today, it is 25%. Again, lifestyle issues. Significant coronary artery disease began after World War II. When people could afford diets rich in animal foods, and when food industry began producing highly processed food with empty calories. If you go to McDonald's or Burger or Wendy's or whatever you may call them, you may want to. If you go there, all you get is a food that is not good for your body. It causes a lot of problems because it is nothing but empty calories. Calories, you just put calories, nothing else. Number 10, please. Okay. Problems with today's food. In 1900, people got 70% of their protein from plant foods. 70% of the food you ate back then came from plants. Today, we get 70% of our protein from animal products, high in fat and cholesterol. In 1900, food grew in local gardens, nearby farms, with few staples from the general store. There were no supermarkets back then. People ate what they grew in their garden or whatever they have. Today, we have highly promoted foods in beautiful packages and fast food restaurants on nearly every corner of our city. Everybody. When I see them, people go to McDonald's and come with this Big Mac. They make it look inviting, and they make it look like really nice. But it is not good for our health. We have to be careful what we do, what we put in our mouth. Number 11, standard American diets in 2000. There is a breakdown over here. You can see on this circle graph. You can see on this graph. 53%, almost 50% of fruits and vegetables consist of French fries and ketchup. Highly processed food. These are not good for you. 85% of processed food, they are an animal. 91.5% of diet is not good for human consumption at all. This comes from the pen of Ellen White back then. All right. Cancel. Objective for medical science. The world has objective. Held for this life. God's plan held for eternal life. We're not here just to temporarily stay here. We are preparing to go to heaven, live with Jesus eternally. So we must be careful how we treat our body. It is true, I'm not saying it is this body that goes. He is going to resurrect an eternal, immortal body. But it will be our own identity. It will be us. I will know Louis. I will know Jeffrey when we go there. We will know each other when the Lord returns and resurrects us. So we should choose God's plan. The world plan, right now especially, you're getting a lot of dunning notices from Medicaid and Medicare suppliers, from this, from that. They say, we won't have to pay this thing, and they tell you all kind of story. Well, that's a world plan. God's plan, take care of yourself before you even get sick. It does not mean if you live according to God's plan, you don't get sick, because we live in a world that is not good. All right. Biblical nutrition. And God said, I think you read this one in Genesis 1:29 and 30. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seeds, which is upon face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of tree yielding seed. To you it shall be meat. You don't an animal, it's not talking meat. By the word meat here means food. It does not mean meat that we get from animals. And every beast of the earth, and every fowl of the earth, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, for food, meaning for food. And it was so. When God created us, He intended us to live forever. If we stick with His plan, if He kept His commandment, do not eat from this. If you eat, you're going to die. So we had conditional immortality when God created us. Conditional immortality. That means if you keep the laws, if you keep what I tell you, you will live forever. But when Eve went over there and start talking to somebody she should not come in contact with, what happened? The conditional immortality turned into unconditional mortality. Means you're going to die. There is no ifs, there is no buts, unless you didn't keep the commandments of the Lord as commanded. All right. The Bible says after creation, God instructed Adam and Eve to eat fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts. Amazing foods. Amazing foods. God created mankind and animals to be vegetarians. And somebody was offended when I said that the last time. I didn't say you have to be. I said this is what God's plan is. And whether we want to accept it or not, that's entirely up to each individual, up to each one of us. He knew that the total vegetarian diet would provide all the nutrients that the body needs. The health reform is an intelligent selection of most healthful food, prepared in the most healthful, simplest form. My Life Today by Ellen White. That's her word, not mine. Okay? Okay. What is the purpose of food? I mean, we take it for granted. We eat, we get hungry and we eat. What is the purpose of it? In order to have good health, we must have good food, good blood. For the blood is the current of life. It repairs waste and nourishes the body. When the supplied when supplied with proper food elements and when cleansed and vitalized by contact with pure air, it carries life and vigor to every part of the system. The more perfect the circulation, that's blood circulation, the more perfect the circulation, the better will this work to be accomplished. Each one of us has 37 trillion cells in our body. I can't even imagine. I don't know how to count that. Maybe you do. Each one of us has 37 trillion cells. A trillion is a million. So each one of those cells, they must breathe, they must eat, or they die. Can you imagine that? 37 trillions. And how are they supplied? The heart beats and takes the blood into each and every one of them. There are 60,000 miles of blood vessels, arteries, and veins in our body. Can you imagine that? That's going around the world twice and more and plus. So our body is made of the food we eat. If we eat junk, our circulation would be no good. And our health will be no good as a consequence. Okay. Timing of meals. Time-restricted feeding was found to reduce swings in hunger and altered fat and carbohydrate burning patterns, which may also help with losing weight. Eating only during a much smaller window of time than people who are typically may help with weight loss, said Courtney Peterson, PhD. We found that eating between 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., followed by 18 hours daily fasting, kept appetite levels more even throughout the day, in comparison to eating between 8 a.m. 8 p.m., which is what the average American does. When I went to Weimar, they told us, and my wife accompanied me, they told us, you're going to eat at breakfast at 8. And then you're going to eat lunch at 2 p.m. That's it. 18 hours between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning. I said, I'm going to get hungry. I came here to gain weight because I lost a great deal of weight due to the disease, my disease I had. I said, no, don't worry about it. This is going to take care of it. You'll be fine. You know what? I found you don't get hungry when you do that. If you eat, every time you see food, that is bad. There got to be time. And when we do that, the Lord will take care of us. And I was really, truly amazed what happened at Weimar Health Institute. Okay. What do you see over there? A sliced carrot? No. Number 19. Yeah. Carrot, a sliced carrot. Looks like human eye. Have you ever heard people saying carrot is good for your eyes, your vision? Yeah, that's true. And sliced carrot looks like a human eye, pupil, iris. Iris is the colored portion of your eye. And radiating lines look like the human eye. And eye science, and yes, science now shows Carrot greatly enhances blood flow and function of the eye. This was long before science knew anything about that Ellen White wrote these words. Amazing. What God wanted us to comprehend today for his people in the last days of this earth's history. You know this one? I'm sure everybody does. Tomato has 4 chambers and is red. The heart has 4 chambers and is red. All of the research shows that tomatoes are loaded with lycopene and are indeed pure heart and blood and pure heart and blood food. So eat the tomatoes, good for you. Just don't eat it every now and then, on time. Grapes, good for you. Grapes hang in a cluster that has the shape of a heart. Each grape looks like blood cell. You look at it. It does really look like a blood cell. And all of the research today, this is what she wrote 140 years ago or so. And today shows, research today shows grapes are also profound heart and blood vitalizing food. So get some grapes from time to time. You know this one? Really good. Walnut. It's really absolutely wonderful. It has a lot of vitamin E in it. Even the wrinkles or folds of the nut are just like the cortex. You know, have you seen human brain, what it looks like, the cortex? That's where the thinking is. Our thinking is in our cortex, right in the forehead area. And it looks like this. So it's good for your brain, walnut. This one, cheap, very, very good. People talk of now inflation. If you go to buy meat, inflation, you'll really find it's gone up. But when I go buy beans from Costco or wherever it is, very cheap, and yet it is profoundly good for you. Good for you. Celery, bok choy, rhubarb, and many more like the bones, just like bones. These foods specific, especially for target bone strength. Bones are 23% sodium, and these foods are 23% sodium. If you don't have enough sodium in your diet, the body pulls it from the bones. Not good. Thus making them weak. These foods replenish the skeletal needs of the body. Avocado, that's my favorite. I eat one avocado at least every 2 to 3 days. It's really good for you. Avocados, eggplants, and pears target the health and function of the womb and cervix of a female. They look like just those organs. If you haven't seen a cervix, you don't know what that looks like. But it really looks like it. It balances hormones, shades unwanted birth weight, and prevents cervical cancers. And how profound is this? It takes exactly 9 months to grow an avocado from blossom to ripened fruit. There are over 14,000 photolytic chemical constituents of the nutrition in each one of these foods. Amazing. This one is another food that's only, seasonal. I think we have it now. That's a fig tree. Amazingly good food. I think I have taken a lot of time, so maybe next time. So I will stop it here. And God has given us plants to feed on, plants to eat. He did not provide animal in the beginning. Now, I am not saying to eat meat is sin, okay? I am not saying lest anybody should misunderstand me, but I am saying what God said. It is good to be plant-based, to feed on plant-based diet. May the Lord help each one of us here to follow His guidance in our diet.